Welcome everyone to another episode of Lancescurv. Just want to give a little shout out to Teresa from Philly. We just got off the phone and wonderful conversation. You know, keep your head up, keep strong, and life is good and life will be good. It's amazing how many people over the years I've had a chance to connect with just doing this from just an organic standpoint. And I'm so happy and I'm so glad. When I first got on social media back early February of 2001, there was no Facebook, there was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok. There was Black Planet. And it was there that I got my start, even after I got on AOL. So I'm an old dinosaur out here in these streets, and I've seen the internet change. But I'll tell you one thing. When I first started, I said to myself, I'm going to be myself. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good parts of me are what you might consider bad, and the ugly. Not that I want to come out here and be ugly, but life and human nature can oftentimes not be so pretty. And I always wanted to express and talk about the real things in this world. Yes, we have fun. We have some crazy shows. We had some adult shows, some comedy shows, and we will be doing those things, right? Because not all that I do is for everybody. Sometimes they say, hey, that's a little too adult or a little too heavy. But nonetheless, the full range. I never wanted to cramp myself. I never wanted to put myself in a position where I was in just one lane. And there were individuals that would come along to try to corral me into that because they didn't like the fact that I had a well-rounded outlook on life and they wanted the attention to themselves. And that's something I don't do. If you come on the platform, you get full attention. I'll promote you. I'll get you out there. And it's just a joy to serve my people. When I meet people who are interesting, I want everybody that I know here to know them too. And I'm known for that, and that's my track record, and nothing's going to stop that. And now that I'm getting back to the original format of what this show is all about, it's going to be fun. You know, I was looking deep in my Instagram, and I had just put it up on Facebook, an old throwback picture to my old bedroom in Orlando. Not the bedroom I slept in, but the bedroom that we took, the extra fourth bedroom that we had, and I painted the stripes on the wall and the big YouTube logo, and we put a lot of work in that little bedroom. And now the studio, the second SCURV Media Studio International in West Africa is opening up. And I mean, it's so much bigger and I know what's needed. And I'm just so grateful to get to this point. Seriously. And this is not what this particular show is all about, but I just wanted to say that organically, this journey, it brings tears to my eyes. It's a joy to have, and I call it a hobby. This is not a business for me. Yes, sometimes cash switches hands in the form of donations or different things, but it's the resources of human energy, sweat equity, passion, connectedness, that human thing that we have with each other for those of us who are still connected. That's important to me because that's diminishing. And this is what this topic today is all about isolation. And again, I focus on the men. I'll be doing a series of women's shows, but I don't isolate one from the other, and there's a lot of overlap. But today I want to speak about the isolation of men in the social media age and how it's a dangerous trajectory for society because you can't have one without the other. You see what I mean? It's just like I always say before my older shows and even recently, that when one finds themselves in a state of dis-ease, or what many would call sickness, you know, in the Western world, in Western medicine, they only treat that one thing. But whenever you're physically sick or in a state of dis-ease, there's always a spiritual element and a mental element of that sickness. And you can visibly cure the physical sickness, but if you don't take care of what has been thrown out of balance on a mental level and on an emotional level and on a spiritual level, things are not going to be right. So this is what I'm talking about today, how we've become so isolated as men in the social media age. In today's hyper-connected yet emotionally disconnected world, we are witnessing a troubling epidemic. the increasing isolation and marginalization of men, particularly young men, but all men, but especially young men. See, the older men, they know what the old way was before social media. I know life before social media. And this is why it will never affect me in a negative way, because I'm an old school guy. I basically operate the old school way with the advantage of social media and to know how to use it, but it never sucks me in. Social media, adult entertainment, and societal trends have created a perfect storm that has left men feeling unwanted, unloved, and incapable of forming meaningful romantic and platonic relationships. This growing crisis isn't just an individual tragedy. It's a societal ticking time bomb with far-reaching consequences for families, communities, and the future of humanity itself. And why it's good that we're focusing on the men in this, so maybe a lot of our young ladies will understand how some men have fallen into an isolation. And you may think it's an attitude, or you may think that they're unreachable, but this erosion has happened over time. And I want to explain why men are becoming more isolated. You know, rejection in the digital dating market, online dating, hailed as a revolutionary tool for connection, has become a brutal battlefield for men of average attractiveness. Now, that's not for me to say. All I'm saying is that the guys who women feel are drop dead gorgeous, they get the attention. But the guy who may not be the person you think is going to be a candidate for a magazine cover, those are the guys that are suffering the most. Now, studies and real-world anecdotes reveal that young men must swipe through hundreds, sometimes thousands of profiles just to get a single match or a response, or just a response. A hi, how you doing? And it's defeating. It's like you get to go through all of these profiles and a woman doesn't respond. That's gotta hurt. But even then, the odds are stacked against them, as 4 out of 5 planned dates result in ghosting. Isn't it something? You get ready and you're set to have a date, and you may not be thinking wayward or inappropriately. You really want human contact, but it's lonely, and then you show up and the young lady doesn't show up. Now, I'm not blaming young ladies or saying they're bad. I'm just saying this is what happens, and we're really focusing on the results of that. But this constant cycle of rejection reinforces the belief that they hold no value in the eyes of the opposite sex, crushing their confidence and driving them deeper into isolation. And personally, I know some brothers like this. And some of them are not teenagers or just in their 20s. They're older also. Worse when you get to my age. Now, I'm off the market, but at 61 years old, I can see how hard it is for men of all ages to meet someone. Just to meet. And there are a lot of lonely ladies out here too, but a lot of these men are hurting because they really feel like nobody wants them. You see? And there is a decline of social skills because of that, because you're so isolated, you're not used to dealing. So before the digital age, men learned social and relational skills through organic face-to-face interactions, whether it's in classrooms, workplaces, or casual community gatherings. We don't have those anymore. Those spaces have all but disappeared. Schools have phased out hands-on programs like the auto or metal or wood shops, from young. But it helps to keep us more social, which not only taught practical skills, but also fostered camaraderie and pride. You're having fun, you're laughing. And I remember, me being an artist in junior high school, 226 Virgil I. Grissom Junior High School, right there on Rockaway Boulevard. Anybody know it there? Go into the gym and look back on 1977 or 78, and you'll see, and whether they still have it in the gym or not, the sit-up record, Lancescurv, 1,630 sit-ups. I was known for that, but I was known for other things. I was known as an artist, but we were pulled out of the class to do this project, an artistic project. There's like 5 of us in the whole school who were pretty good artists, and we were on top of our schoolwork. And that was a badge of honor. Yeah, we get to go, not be in class. They called us to do this project. And it took most of the year. And we did go into class now, but a lot of the time we got there, we were utilized for the mural. We all did this big mural. I did a huge mural with a very fine point pen, right? And light pencil. And everybody else did that. And man, it was wonderful. And one of the teachers, Mr. Rosenberg, I'm calling you out. He's probably not with us anymore. He took the mural down and took it home. It was good, y'all. But that fostered some camaraderie, a sense of pride. And we got to have that. In these days, we just don't have that anymore. We just don't. And now most interactions occur online with a lack of genuine human contact. Stunts the development of communication skills. Have you noticed that? I'm not saying all, but many of our young men have not developed. Like, we're not talking like you're 7 or 8 years old and still learning, but teenagers, older teenagers, men in their early 20s, even the late 20s, they don't know how to approach. They don't know how to express themselves. I'm not saying everybody, but it's just a different world, and I see it, and it has retarded our development. I'm not calling anybody retarded. I'm just saying it's not the way it used to be, where a young man would dress up nicely, you know, meet a woman through maybe some common acquaintance or friendship. You go to a cookout, you go to a block party, you go to a dance, you go to the roller skating rink, you're around and you see a woman, you say, hey, how you doing? My name is so-and-so. I think you're so beautiful. I would like to talk to you. Can I get to know you? Do you have a boyfriend? I don't want to disrespect anybody. And it's like, listen, you know, we don't know each other, but maybe we can meet up and, you know, grab a meal somewhere. I mean, I can take you out on a date. And that's so easy. And women were receptive then. It was organic. It was lovely. And now you get on a date, you get to know the person. And if the date didn't work out or the person doesn't like your energy, then, you know, it just dissipated. It was okay. But it was done with respect, and it was done in a way where you both knew where you stood. And if you said, hey, what are you doing next week? Oh, I'm free. Now it's developing something. And it develops eventually into, you started dating, you courted, you got engaged, you got married. But everything is in such a disarray right now, and we're out of order. And people say, well, that's the old days. You don't have to do that anymore. Well, we have problems because of that. Guess what? We don't date anymore. We get right into meeting and going right to bed with each other and don't even know anything about each other. And of course, these diseases are floating around like crazy, right? Or you meet somebody, you think you like them, you have sex with them prematurely, right? And you end up getting married. Oh, it's so good. I want to marry you. You want to marry them on the basis of that? Does that mean they're going to be a good mother or father? So we need to go back to the process. I'm going to say it. I'm an older guy compared to people in their 20s and their 30s. We need to go back into the old way, like a farming system, like a system of vetting a person. But we're so messed up that we want this and we don't want that. And no, social media has messed up so much. You see, messed up so much. And it's a decline in our social skills, which makes things worse. Now, there's an impact from social media trends, right? Social media has redefined the meaning of relationships, often portraying unrealistic and superficial standards. The perfect couples showcased online create a false sense of what love and companionship look like, and we're taking cues from this, leading men to feel even more inadequate. This warped perception erodes their confidence in pursuing meaningful relationships and exacerbates feelings of loneliness. And with that loneliness, it leaves us in a bad place because now there's the lure of adult entertainment at the click of a button. Lonely men often turn to adult content for solace, mistaking it for a replacement for real intimacy. However, this habit only deepens their isolation. Instead of seeking out real connections, they retreat further into their own worlds, leaving them emotionally disconnected and unprepared for genuine relationships. Yes, I'm going to say some things that are adult, but nothing lewd that a child couldn't hear, because I'm going to say it in a way where they don't understand it. But adult entertainment on the computer. I know people personally that have given up on real face-to-face, full and healthy relationships. And they've gotten into that one particular lane of what I just mentioned, to the point where it's a visual in front of them, but they save certain particular visuals, if you know what I mean, so that as they release themselves from certain tensions, if you know what I mean, they actually told me that they have begun to have feelings for this individual who they do not know. Actual feelings in their mind of love, of connectedness, of this being my girl. Not girl like little girl, but you know how the slang goes, hey, that's my girl over there. It's a grown woman. I'm telling you, this is how bad it has gotten. It has gotten really bad, y'all, where a dude is sitting there to a movie having feelings for the individual performing on that movie. A connection that's not real. And they feel, I'm not saying they feel completely satisfied, but it's an imbalanced satisfaction where the physical releases, but the emotional, the real emotional is not taken care of. The mental, the spiritual, there's a spiritual connection to this, but it's one-sided. When a man is with a woman, and when I say with, you know what I mean. It's mind, body, and soul. But if you're just doing the body, your body, and there's no other body, I mean, it's bad enough finding a genuine not conversation, but a genuine connection. My mind is racing. This is a topic I want to go deeper on, but I want to talk about that one part. The connection. So now you have a man, or you meet a man who has a connection to a two-dimensional visual movie that he has feelings for. How can you live up to that? But you can supersede that. But how can you get that other thing out of the way when he's not really having a connection with you on a date? You have a date, you have a good time, you're talking, and when he gets home, he's not dealing with his passion for you, not just that one-way physical passion, but the overall. Forget romance. I mean, even when I was a younger boy, I was very much romantic. I saw the grown women's bodies and had my stirring feelings, as we all do when testosterone hits a man, a young man. But I knew about love, and I had the example of that through my parents. We come up in the day of Soul Train. We come up in the day of Right On magazine. We come up in the day where you went to parties, house parties. And if you had a crush on a young lady, your friends would kind of say it before you said it, so she anticipated it. Or her girlfriends knew, oh, I think he likes you. And it was almost like a team sport because you had your friends around you. Oh, so you're going to talk to them? What did they say? And you on the phone? It was beautiful. I hope that we can be together soon. Gonna make it real soon. I can't wait. I can't sing, y'all, but the romance was in my heart. It wasn't just about a woman's backside, which is a beautiful thing. Holding her hand, getting a peck of a kiss at the front door after you bring her home on time from a date. Even my little 11 or 12-year-old self couldn't afford anything expensive, but I'd save up my allowance money, and it might have been a cheap 14 karat or 10 karat piece of jewelry that I would buy for someone. And they were like, wow, you did this for me? But that's the time. And I was a little boy, that's all I could afford. You get yourself clean, you have your cologne on, and you were a little man going on a date. What happened to that? You see what I mean? And now we have grown men who are watching a adult flick, looking at the woman like he loves her, don't even know her. And this is the replacement. There's a lot of lonely men out here. So sisters, understand that. And you want a complete man, but there are a lot of good men out here who are limited to loneliness. And social media, it's not social. It sucks from you and isolates you. And it's a crisis that's dangerous for society. Fewer families, less stability. The isolation of men directly impacts family formation. Without meaningful relationships, fewer men are getting married or becoming fathers. This decline in family units erodes the foundation of society, leaving children without role models and communities without stability. There's also rising mental health issues. Well, if you're doing something like what I just explained, why wouldn't it be? But loneliness and rejection are breeding grounds for depression, anxiety, and hopelessness. The mental health crisis among young men is reaching alarming levels, contributing to substance abuse, suicide, yes, and even violence. Isolated men often struggle to find purpose and motivation, impacting their ability to thrive in the workforce. This not only affects their personal financial stability, but also hinders economic growth at a societal level. A lonely, disenfranchised man with no prospects or sense of belonging can become a danger to himself and others. You know why? Because history has shown that societal outcasts are often the ones most likely to lash out violently, creating a ripple effect of fear and instability. But how did we get here, right? The removal of traditional male spaces, the disappearance of male-centered activities such as shop classes and mentorship programs has deprived men of spaces where they can find pride, purpose, and connection. I mean, even the basketball court, even it happens naturally. You have a guy in the neighborhood, he's a teenager, he's a senior in high school, just making this up. And he bought a used car and he's working on it. Or he has a friend who's an older guy who's a mechanic who's working on it because he can't afford to have a total overhaul. But the buddies gather around because they're all going to be in this car driving. Hopefully not drunk, hopefully not high on anything or doing something illegal. But it was nice back in the day. We all had that buddy who, and I hung out with guys who were a year or two older than me, so they got there already. And we drive and we go places, we laugh and we talk. I pitch in for gas, whatever it may be. But we need more male spaces. It's not to say, oh, let's get away from women. I'm not talking about any MGTOW foolishness, men going their own way. No, that's an overreaction, because if men are going their own way, where are they going? To the rainbow? We need our sisters. We love our sisters. We want our sisters, but there's a disconnect. You see? And there's an over-reliance on technology. As society leans heavily on technology for communication, random, meaningful encounters have diminished. Men no longer have the opportunities to organically develop their social skills necessary for building relationships. That anticipation. You see a young lady, of course there's a visual part of it all. Oh my God, look how good she looks. And she might look good to you and not really to your buddies. Or whatever you say, man, I don't see what you see. I don't know what you're seeing. You know, guys say that sometimes, and they're the very ones wanting that young lady, right? Or her attention. But there's an adrenaline rush. We have to go through these things. We can't just go right to the point with an adult movie and fall asleep feeling we did something where we're pushing ourselves into a state of imbalance. It's different now. There are cultural shifts in gender dynamics. because the rise of social media has amplified unrealistic standards for both men and women. And that creates a disconnect in how the sexes perceive and interact with one another. Do you hear me? That creates a disconnect in how the sexes perceive and interact with each other. That's like two people being told bad things about each other from a third person. Oh, you know he doesn't like you. Or you know he's talking about you bad. And then you go to the next person. Oh, they say they can't stand you. They said your breath stank. They said this, you got a big forehead, whatever. And now when you both are left alone, you have these things inside of you against each other that was told to you by a third person. But in this case, it's not the third person. It's social media. You see what I mean? Creating a disconnect in how the sexes perceive and interact with one another. Men are increasingly seen as disposable or unworthy of attention unless they meet certain superficial criteria. Oh, you better have an expensive sports car. Oh, you better be making six figures. Oh, you better have that six-pack. Oh, when it comes to the aerobics and calisthenics that go on in the bedroom behind closed doors, you better be able to last for hours. So we have these unrealistic expectations. Nobody builds with each other anymore. We expect the total package to walk through the door. And I'm going to say it this way, and I'm not throwing off on the sisters. I love you, my sisters. But you will be lonely most of the time if you wait for a man to be completely 100% complete, to have wisdom, to have wealth, to be emotionally stable, to be spiritually ascended, to be mentally at the pinnacle. We're all going to meet each other in a way where we have to understand that we're a work in progress. And maybe we can help and motivate each other. That doesn't mean you have to take control of another person's life and do the work for them. No, by no means that. Because a lot of people feel they can change people, men and women. Well, you know, she's a nice woman, but she loves to stay out all night with different men. But I think I can change her. That's a recipe for that's a disaster. That's a recipe for disaster. But if it's a slight leaning, a slight bit of influence that you can give that can nudge them in a different direction. But like they say, you can't turn a whore into a housewife. Some do. You can't turn a male whore into a faithful husband, right? They have to get there themselves. We've all had our days when we're a little wild sometime. More so and sometimes less. But maturity indicates that we've come around. But social media keeps us in these places where we're not as developed or we're partially developed, and then we see each other the wrong way. That is so wrong. And time is wasting. You know, back in the day, we used to have couples that got married in their early 20s. I'm not suggesting that. But people in their early 20s now are so, let me say it, straight retarded. I'm not saying they all are, but they're not ready for that because they grew up in social media now. So social media dictates everything now. And now it's like we're all going to a costume party with a false persona, and we're presenting this because social media told us so. But deep down behind the mask, we're lonely. Ain't there something? But men really truly want something. But a lot of times the mask or the perception from the other side keeps them from getting it. But at their core, most men are not seeking escapism through social media or adult content. They crave meaningful relationships where they feel needed, loved, and valued. They want partnerships built on mutual respect and shared goals. A stark contrast to the transactional or superficial connections promoted by modern trends on social media. Transactional. That's what it's become. Take me out, and if I have a good enough date with you, I might give you a little something. And that's it. And they're being transactional with different people. Lots of people. You want this? Give me this. You want that? Okay, you got to give me this. and there's no really heart-to-heart connection, and you're still lonely, but you don't realize it yet. You're stripping away because you're imbalanced. But what's the solution? What's the solution for a balanced society? I jotted down a few notes here. I'm going to read them off. Reintroduce male-centered spaces. Schools and communities must revive programs that foster hands-on skills and camaraderie among young men. Because when you're around other men in a positive way, you're more equipped. You don't have the insecurities. You're not competing with each other. And you feel confident in who you are. The one who's 6'5" and in great shape, he's confident. The one who's 5'3" and a little chubby, he might be a little comedian and make you laugh and still be loved. We all have something about us that is something that we can offer. And as young men, and especially young men in the black community, we already have enough issues with the world and how they perceive us through social media. We're right about that. We have to be so different to make an impact to say, oh, he's different. But the default view on us that we're criminals and thugs and lazy and shiftless and we're not good fathers, or we get a girl knocked up and don't stay around, those things are already placed on us. And some of us think that even when we know we have shining examples of excellence in our own community. What's the next one? Encourage organic interactions. Parents, educators, and society at large should create opportunities for men to engage in real-world activities that build social and emotional intelligence. Let's talk about current events. Let's talk about current events that impact us in the world. Let us read different periodicals and books, magazines, and then let's have discussions with other people. Let's build our conversational skills. Lancescurv, I can talk to anybody about a little bit of anything and everything. I am well read. I am confident. I'm sorry for those who are not confident or think that I'm being cocky, but I have earned it. Because I have a genuine interest in my interaction and positioning in the world. And many people don't have that. They don't want that, but it's valuable. When you can bring information to someone, and especially when you're at a date with the opposite sex and you don't have nothing in your head, man, what are you talking about? So a young lady wants a man to look up to, like, wow, he's well knowledgeable, even if you don't read lots of books, but you get your information somehow and you're interesting, and this opens up possibilities of the things that you can do to earn money, to network with people. I've opened the floodgates now, and I will be networking with people more so and doing different events here in Ghana. And it's a beautiful thing that I have a lane cut out for me already from the things that I do online, and the credibility and respect and integrity in history, where you know that when I come up to your event, it's going to be well covered. You understand? Genuinely, because this is something I love to do. But my id was formed from a long time ago. This is how my parents made me. They didn't just procreate and spit me out and say, okay, there's your room, there's your food, there's a roof over your head, there's your clothes, you're on your own. No. I was brought into the fold. I was brought into conversations, even conversations that were a little bit beyond my reach. And they said, well, how do you feel about this? And they explained things to me, and I felt needed. I felt like a part of something. But I had that at home. But we need to have this in the world for the people who don't have it at home. We'll create better men for our sisters. And on that side of things, the sister side of things, there are things that need to be implemented too, because social media has destroyed them lots of times and put them in situations that they otherwise would not be in. And we have to challenge unrealistic standards. Both men and women need to confront and dismantle the unrealistic expectations set by social media, fostering a culture of authenticity. Authenticity. How much is authentic these days? We have our young ladies who they get in the BBLs, the Brazilian butt lifts, and these eyelashes that look like spiders attached to their eyes, and the weaves and the makeup and the tattoos and the breast jobs and the provocative dressing, and that's not you. I'm sorry. You don't have to go through all of that. Who's teaching you this? You see this on social media. There's peer pressure for you to look this way, and men have a pressure to go after those who look like that. It's a beautiful thing back in the day for me, back in the 70s. You date a woman and she doesn't have any makeup on. A little lip gloss, a little something to enhance, and she feels it enhances. Me, I don't like anything. I want to see you. I want to see the genuine you. I want to feel your energy. I want your essence, your real essence. You see, all of this superficial foolishness, and this is not on topic, I just want to say it. This is what makes men more easy to lay down with another man who's walking down the street with a wig, fake breasts, stilettos, garter belt, and a mini skirt. There's Adam's apple and 5 o'clock shadow, because see, you're so attached to the superficial things on a woman that when a man does it, and he's willing to perform an act on you before you go home for a couple of bucks, you do it. Now you got to really be on the other side now, on the down low, right, to do that. All I'm saying is that it's not about the woman anymore. It's about the adornments. And this is what social media has done to mess up our mind. This is why it's influencing many of our men to go the other way, the rainbow way. We're so out of pocket. And we have to promote mental health resources. Accessible mental health services must be normalized for men, providing them with the tools to overcome loneliness and rejection. But in our culture, in our society, what do? I'm not crazy. I'm not going there. I'm not crazy. Who said you're crazy? Is your car crazy when you take it in for a tune-up? Is your car crazy when you take it in just to get an oil change? No, it's maintenance. Look at the society we live in. It's crushing us. It's sucking out our wherewithal, our essence, our peace of mind. You're not crazy, but if you keep letting it do that to you, with social media being the culprit, you will go crazy. You will go crazy. And the funny thing about it is you won't even know it. You won't even know it. If you say, oh, I'm crazy, you ain't crazy because you know you're not crazy. To say that you are. Crazy people don't know it. And we have a lot who are on the fast track and the fast lane to getting there. But we have to reframe masculinity. Society needs to redefine what it means to be a man, moving away from toxic stereotypes and emphasizing emotional intelligence, empathy, and resilience. Empathy, resilience, emotional intelligence. And yes, men are supposed to also cry. You have these emotionally constipated men who they were told, or they came up in a dysfunctional family, men are not supposed to cry, but you're imploding on the inside. And those are the men that I've known who have had mental health issues. You're supposed to feel for someone. Yes, you are a man and you're going to be strong. And you have to deal with fear to conquer it, to overcome certain situations. But doesn't mean that you have to be this stoic, rock, non-emotional Mr. Spock type dude. No, you'll snap. It's a whole lot on this topic, and I'm going to be going on next couple weeks, months. I always go in on stuff, and I'm going to always keep on doing it. But the challenges facing men today are undeniable, but they're not insurmountable. The isolation and rejection that many experience do not have to define their lives or futures. But while social media, unrealistic dating norms, and societal shifts have created barriers, invisible barriers, they've also opened new opportunities for growth, connection, and self-discovery. But on the flip side, there's bad in it. I'm not saying social media is completely bad. But the key is to approach these challenges with determination and a willingness to adapt. A willingness to adapt. We become rigid and hardened in our ways, but we have to have a willingness to adapt. Men must realize that they are not alone in their struggles. There's a whole lot of men out here like that. And together they can create a future where their worth is not dictated by fleeting trends or superficial standards. Hope begins with small, deliberate steps. The first is understanding that value comes from within, not from external validation. So what if you don't have the latest sports car? So what if you don't have the jazziest wardrobe? So what if you're a person who doesn't have the gift of gab, but you have full vibration because you're developing yourself? And again, you must think, when you start to have thoughts that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect. Now, nobody's perfect, is that I am a work in progress. And tomorrow I will be a degree better in different areas where needed than I was today. You see what I mean? That's what we have to do. Men must reclaim their sense of purpose, focusing on personal growth and building confidence through achievements, no matter how small. It might be as simple as mastering a skill, cultivating a hobby, or forming meaningful friendships outside of digital spaces. By taking control of their narrative, men can rediscover their intrinsic worth and recognize that rejection is not the end. It's often a redirection towards something better. My parents knew what they were doing when they supported me when I was into the sport of bodybuilding as a drug-free bodybuilder. And when I won that national title on October 10th, 1982, that's something that could not be taken away from me. I was proud in a humble way. I did it. I won something. And I took that confidence to other areas of my life. I did something that was really challenging in a time when most young men are just discovering themselves. And I stuck to it for years. And one, is that the only thing that I did in this life? No. But we all have that crucial thing that we do. And whether it's public acknowledgement on the stage with hundreds of people in the audience and people taking pictures of you and you're in magazines and all this stuff, which was a tremendous boon to me. I was confident before to be able to pursue that. You see? So it's very important with our young men to have something that they own, something that they do, something that's unique, even if it's similar to what another person does, but you do it good and you're known for that. Boy, that does something for you. As an artist, I know I'm pretty good. As a writer, I know I'm pretty good. It's not cockiness, but when you know these things, when you have a resume, you state what you do. You don't apologize to a person that's interviewing you for a job. Well, you know, I'm pretty good in this, but I'm sorry. What do you mean you're sorry? If you're good, you're good. Show and prove. I have a body of work well over 2 decades, coming up on 24 years now. I'm not going to lack confidence because of that. And there are many people who want to tear you down when they see you have some type of established something that you're good at. Don't even try me. You can't take away my confidence because I know that whatever I put my mind to, I can do. And if you're not confident because of what you didn't do or establish with yourself, get busy. You need to work on yourself. But it's also vital to embrace the realistic challenges of today while seeking authentic connections. True relationships, whether romantic or platonic, are built on shared values, mutual respect, and understanding. And you best believe these don't happen overnight, nor do they emerge from swiping on screens. They come from meaningful interactions and a willingness to be vulnerable and open. It's a frightening thing for men and women to be vulnerable and open. Oh, I was done wrong, so I don't trust it. So you'll never develop anything unless you're open and vulnerable. How can a store or a shop or a place of business do business unless the doors are open. If you keep the customers locked outside, you won't make the profits, and your merchandise or food stuff will spoil away. You see what I mean? But this might mean stepping out of comfort zones. And it's not just a matter of might, meaning you're going to have to step out of a comfort zone, trying new activities or seeking environments where genuine human connections are prioritized. There's no secret. I'm telling you the secret if there's ever one. Every small step toward connection is a victory, and every victory builds momentum. And when you have momentum, you're unstoppable. Think about that 18-wheeler that's flying down the highway at 90 miles an hour. The driver can take its foot off of the gas pedal. You think it's going to stop at that very moment? It has such a momentum, it will go on for such a distance, maybe miles, before it comes to a stop. You see what I mean? That's the way it is with us, human nature, and how we operate. We have a victory, it brings more victory. It brings more confidence. Equally important is fostering a sense of brotherhood among men, real men. Isolation thrives when men feel they have no one to turn to, but communities of like-minded individuals can provide the support and encouragement needed to overcome loneliness. Whether through local organizations, online forums centered on growth and positivity, or mentorship programs, the bonds forged in these spaces can help men navigate the complexities of modern life, because they will be around other men to see that there's a commonality where we have the same issues. It may not be the exact same issues, but they're somewhat the same. And what did you do to overcome your challenge? See? But you have to be ready to be vulnerable and open, because most guys these days, I don't have no problem. I'm perfect. I'm strong. And they snap. You heard about the oak tree and the palm tree. The palm tree is a lot weaker than an oak tree. An oak tree is strong, the strongest in the land. But when the storm came and the palm tree leaned into or away from the wind because it was flexible, it might have been weaker, but it's flexible. The oak tree couldn't bend, it couldn't adapt. And when the winds got strong enough, the oak tree snapped. The oak tree is stronger, but it snapped and it didn't survive. But the palm tree leaned back. Lean back, lean back. Like the Fat Joe song, right? And when the storm was over, it was still there. You see what I mean? But when you're with other brothers together, you can challenge societal expectations and redefine masculinity as a blend of strength, empathy, and accountability. But when you have to keep that mask on that you're Superman and you have no emotions and it doesn't matter, and you'll snap like the oak tree. Understand, while the road ahead may be challenging, it is far from hopeless. Men have the power to reclaim their lives, building fulfilling relationships, and create a sense of purpose that transcends societal pressures, especially those on social media. But the journey will require effort, patience, and resilience. But it will also bring rewards that far outweigh the struggles. A world where men are valued, loved, and connected is possible. But it starts with a commitment to change, both individually and collectively. The challenges of today are merely stepping stones to a brighter, more connected tomorrow. So let's take that first step together. I'm always here to talk to the brothers and the sisters, right? I'm always here. I just had the call earlier from Sister Teresa from Philadelphia. I was laying across the bed, dozing off. The phone rang. I said, let me pick this up. And we had a very positive conversation. That's what it's all about. It's a beautiful thing. But social media has separated us, caused a lot of us to be insecure because we don't measure up to the false projections of what that dictates we should be. And most of us, the majority of us, are not going to feel we measure up. And that's the majority of what you see out here. Insecurity going wild, overcompensation. especially for the superficial. It's too much. I couldn't come up in these times with the way things are. I'd have to be the corny dude who's doing the old school stuff and being content in who I am. I couldn't do it. The good old days are the good old days for me, but I'm not on the dating scene. I'm not dealing with the opposite sex like that. But I see it. And I'm very much still a part of it because I'm involved in social media. And people look up to me. Some think I'm a jerk. Some look up to me. It doesn't matter to me. I know who I am, and I'm confident in who I am. And that's unshakable. And I've been like that most of my life. And I want to share that with those who may not have that. And it's okay if you don't have it. I mean, although my parents grew me to be confident and to put me through the mill of learning my lessons the authentic hard way, the challenging way, I didn't come out the womb like that. So I still had my times of slight insecurity, but I didn't have social media driving me down the deepest, bottomless abyss and keeping me there. No. If there's something I wanted, I went after it. If there was a young lady I wanted to talk to, and it wasn't a direct thing where I just wanted to take you on a date. If I wanted to talk to you, I'm not intimidated by your looks. It's not a challenge, and I love it when you look well and feel good about yourself, but I wasn't scared. People say, Lance, you crazy. You ain't scared of nothing. Why should I be? Maybe the young lady wanted me to come over there and talk to her in the first place, right? Even back in 2006 and it was a few years before that, but I used to write erotica. I used to write erotic scenarios. And it wasn't just some crude, lewd type thing. It was based on an emotional level, psychological, and it was geared toward the women. It wasn't just some ego-driven, I'm erect and hard and all night long. No, it was none of that. You'll never see none of that. And it was very popular. And I decided to stop. I felt kind of funny. You know, there's all different types of people that, sort of following me. But I'm going to get back into that again. I'm going to get back into erotic photography. I'm going to get back into all forms of expression because the basis of my indulgence in the many areas of expression is not some, how can I put it, some lewd or venomous or some ego-based thing. No, it's for the genuine love of the craft. And anybody who's followed me here on this platform for any bit of time must know that I'm a purist. I love the joy of the process. You'll hear this after we do the show with Brother Malik Aziz, the Muslim Street, that we do every Sunday night at 7:30 East Coast time. But we're going to do that after. This is a Sunday night going into Monday morning for me. Most people, I ain't going to do that right now. No, I had to do something else. I did something this morning. I did a few shorts. I may do a few shorts into the show. Got to keep my hands moving. I love what I do. I'm confident in what I do. And I know that it has value because somebody out there is listening. And we need to reach out to each other on a human level, male and female. And look, man, it doesn't have to be where you're reaching out to a female with a hidden agenda and secret motivation. Let it be genuine. Let's bring back the real community. Not something where we have to think twice about, why are you doing this? What's the real reason you're doing this for me? No, because I have a genuine love for my community and I want to leave a legacy of connectedness and being bonded and being healthy on a mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical level. Leave your comments below in the comment section on Lancescurv.com. Reach out to me, Lance at Lancescurv.com, 407-590-0755 on WhatsApp or straight through. This is the kind of thing we have to do. We can still have fun. We can still go out. We can still go after somebody and say, hey, I just like the way you look. I want to know you. It's okay. Whatever you do, be honest in your intentions and transparent. You don't need to hide. If you're lonely, admit it to yourself and say, hey, I want to change things. It doesn't have to be this way. Trust and believe. Lancescurv out. Much love to you all. Thank you for being here. On to the next one. Peace.
Lancescurv.com. Bold, raw, and uncut.